Hi, I'm Dan Sher. I'm the Director of Digital Marketing here at the Press of Atlantic City. I also run the Press's in-house digital marketing agency. We call ourselves Big Surf Media, and we serve local small and medium-sized businesses, providing everything from website development to social media management and all sorts of digital marketing tactics as well. And it's a pleasure to be here today.
So, how did you begin your career in social media and branding?
Long time ago, about 13 years ago, I started my own digital marketing agency called Shared Vision Media. It's a play off my last name. And I used to be in marketing, traditional marketing. I was the marketing director at a CBS radio affiliate in New York City. I was the marketing director for a Tribune television station in Albany, New York. And I realized at those places that more and more of the marketing we were doing was going online. This was back in late 1990s, early 2000s. And so I taught myself how to code over the years, taught myself about digital marketing tactics, stayed current on those things, and over the years became kind of an expert on those topics. And took that to my own agency, built my own brand, and then when the press was looking for somebody to start one in-house, it was a really great opportunity I couldn't pass up.
So, what does having a personal brand mean to you?
What does having a personal brand mean to me? It means being able to present. See, there's so many digital channels out there today: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, um, uh, Twitter. There's so many personal brands out there today that it's really great if you can kind of create a cohesive umbrella for those brands, so that you're consistent across all those platforms. When you apply for a job, your employer is obviously going to Google you. They're going to look you up online, and it would be nice if you had sort of a consistent image online, one that was positive and really spoke to who you were, who you are. Gives you a consistent representation across all platforms and allows you to present yourself in the best light.
So, what are some difficulties when it comes to building a brand?
I think the first one is deciding what it is, who you are, who you want to be online, who you want to be portrayed as. And then once you decide what that is, going about coming up with the particulars to create that brand, speaking in that voice, presenting those posts and images that speak to who you are and what you aspire to.
And if you could give yourself a personal brand score, what would you score yourself?
Score, wow. Out of like 100 or give
Yeah,
yourself an A.
that's yeah.
I would say I've gotten pretty good at it. Probably 90, maybe an A minus, B plus, or sort of somewhere in there.
And do you have an active online presence?
I used to have a more active online presence than I do now. Over the years, I run other people's social media accounts. We have here at Big Surf, we run 25 different companies' social media accounts, and that's everything from Facebook to Twitter to Pinterest, Snapchat, you name it. So for me to do my own stuff takes a lot of extra time that oftentimes I don't have. So that stuff has been put on the back burner.
And on which social media platforms are you most active, and why this platform?
Instagram. To me, it's the most personal, and it's the one where I feel like I can select the followers I want to have and speak to the audience I want to speak to, whether it be family, friends, acquaintances, work, acquaintances, that sort of thing. Facebook has become sort of it's not a it's become more of a news gathering platform, more so than an experience platform. And Instagram to me is more about the experience, is things that you experience, things that you've done, ways to kind of relate who you are to others. That to me is more powerful.
And what content do you produce, and how often do you share this content?
For myself, not a whole lot. Usually just images and some videos, short videos. For clients, everything. Everything from infographics to images to logos to videos. And we just did animated videos for clients. So you name it, we produce it here.
So for the press, what would an example of content that you would produce for here?
For the press, we're starting a podcast program next week talking about digital marketing tactics in the digital age, and we're going to be putting that on the press's website and our own website, bigsurfmedia.com, to talk about sort of the behind the curtain way in which we market clients. How do we go about coming up with a marketing strategy? What are the sort of the things we look at when we're building websites? How do we create image assets for clients? That sort of thing. What thought goes into that? We're going to be doing 10, 15-minute podcasts on those sorts of topics.
And how has your social media activities contributed to your professional career?
Um, Greatly, actually. It sort of got me into this business back in a long time ago, 15, 16 years ago. I got into digital marketing by pitching a blog to the publisher of a Hearst newspaper in Texas. And the blog was this I created a character who would blog about life in Southeast Texas in a very sort of peculiar way. It was a character. It was blogging as a character, and I pitched it to him. He thought it was a silly idea, and I told him if I could grow the audience to 30,000 page views a month, he'd start paying me a salary, and in 3 months he started paying me a salary, and I grew that audience in large part due to social media. Facebook was huge in helping me cultivate that audience, and so that's how I leveraged social media to sort of start my career in the digital marketing space. Because prior to that, I was doing regular marketing services for buying billboards, buying TV, buying radio, that sort of thing, print ads, and this catapulted me into that space.
And what are your predictions for traditional media as well as digital marketing in, say, 20 years?
Oh, gosh. It's rapidly changing. It changes every 6 months. It's actually hard to stay on top of this area because there's so many new things happening in the space. If you told me that 5 years ago we would be dealing with AI and things like that, I wouldn't have believed that. So it's hard to foresee what's going to happen in 20 years. I do know that right now, if you are marketing in the digital space, it always helps to have a traditional component attached to that, because if you slice up the demographics of the audience, there's always a small percentage are going to be reading the newspaper or watching television or listening to the radio, even though it's segmented. And then using that audience in addition to digital tactics, statistics say you can usually increase your reach by about 20 to 24%. So that's sort of the way that we use all those media, because you don't want to ignore anything. Somebody's always using some media, whether it's, if even it's something that you don't even consider a part of your daily life, someone's reading it or someone's looking at it. 20 years from now, who knows? I mean, there's that scene in Minority Report where he gets his eyeball scanned and automatically an ad is placed in front of him in a hologram. We'll probably be dealing with that in a shorter time period than 20 years.
And what advice would you give to college students that are still building their personal brand or wants to go into this field?
Stay educated. Keep reading. Keep staying on top of industry trends. Talk to people. Experiment. One of the great things about digital marketing is that you can always build on what you've been doing and learn from any of those mistakes you make. A/B testing is a wonderful tool in digital marketing, right? You try one piece of creative and another piece of creative, and the creative that gets the best results, you go with that. So to those aspiring to get into social media as a career, always be learning, always be experimenting, and always be taking risk, because without risk, there's no growth.
So how would you say having a personal brand is important when it comes to this kind of field? Like,
social media is about image, right? That's why it's important that every company have a social media pages, and they're carefully curated, because that is your most forward-facing marketing tool. So and it's interesting because when you have young people running company social media sites, it's the most exposed, right? So for you to build your personal brand, you have to be very cognizant of how do you look to the rest of the world. Be very careful, be very thoughtful, and plan out what you're going to put out there into the world, especially if it's associated with you in a very public space, because social media is the ultimate public sphere, right? It's the water cooler of the world now. Everyone sees it, everyone talks about it. Our politicians are on Twitter, our celebrities are on Instagram and Snapchat, and they're constantly exposed, and they're very calculated in how they put their message out there, and you should be too.
And what are some of your biggest successes in this field, and maybe what are some of your not so great successes in this field?
Biggest successes. One of my first clients was an 11-store sporting goods retail chain, and we built their social media following from 26 Facebook followers to 56,000 in a couple of years. That was a huge success. And we did that through hard work, really targeted advertising, and concentrated messaging that never wavered off topic. We knew who we were, we built that brand, and in a couple of years we had a great following that was really dedicated. Biggest failures. That's a tough one. Uh, I don't I don't really think of them as failures. I think of them as sort of, it's trial and error. You're trying to create brands. It's not always something that's going to work out. Some brands just don't want to be created. And I think you just have to roll with that and learn from those particular mistakes when you make them. They're not really mistakes. They're just, you had an idea, the idea didn't work out so well, and you use that experience to make the next idea work better.
And is there any other advice or information that you think that the younger generation, like myself, should know when going into communications or marketing or social media?
Yeah, it's hard work. Social media is not a glamorous job. It is a 24/7, all day, every night part of your life. It doesn't go away. Social media is always on. So there's somebody on Facebook all the time. And as I tell clients all the time, social media is the new customer service. People are always going on to Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. They're asking you questions about your business or questions about you, and you have to be there to answer them. Facebook, as a matter of fact, has a responsiveness tool that measures your response time to customer queries. And if you're slow, customers will know that, and they won't want to do business with you. So it's hard work, and it is constantly changing. You have to be willing to change yourself. You have to be willing to evolve as the technology evolves and as the platforms evolve.
All right, you've heard it from Dan Sher himself. Thank you very much for everything.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.